Hi, Abby. Thank you for having this time with me and be able to conduct the interview.
Yes, thank you, Dania, for asking me. I am excited to be here. Uh,
And
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Can you tell us some of your background experience? Introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So my name is Abbey Davis. I'm an assistant professor of practice here at the Spear School of Business. But before that, I was the director of the Easton Center. So I led a team of career coaches that support all of our Spear students. And before that, I worked in human resources, where I would coach and advise a lot of leaders and managers on how to be effective in their roles.
Okay, so let's jump in our first question. And this is, how did your career lead you to management? It is something that you pursue or something that it surprised you?
No, it was something that I always pursued. I studied leadership a lot. I read up on leadership a lot, and as I mentioned, when I worked in HR, I would coach and advise a lot of managers on situations that they'd have with their employees. So I developed trainings for them. So I always wanted to go into leadership and management and have an opportunity to apply all of those things that I had been studying. So it was intentional. And while I've taken a step back out of formal leadership, I would consider my relationship with students still very much a leadership role.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like it's something that you wanted.
Mhm.
Okay, next question. When you work in the workplace, how do you handle different personalities in the workplace?
That's a great question. There's a term called situational leadership, and it's about the importance of adapting your style for your audience. So, for example, it's important that if I had an employee that was rather quiet, and she always tended to be quiet in meetings, but she had the best ideas. And so that I knew in meetings, I could tell by her facial expression if she really had something she wanted to say, but I'd have to give her the confidence to speak up. So I would say, hey, what's going on? Tell us what you're thinking. And that would give her comfort in speaking up versus maybe an employee that I had to have conversations with of saying, hey, we have a lot to talk about today. I want to get everyone's input. I don't want any one single person dominating the discussion, me included. So I feel like you need to be aware of personalities, and as much as you can, try to meet your employees where they're at while also obviously still challenging them to get outside their comfort zone.
For you, was easy to learn how to read people?
No, no. And in fact, I got a piece of performance feedback that was really frustrating to me. I had a boss tell me that I needed to do a better job of reading in between the lines. And that frustrated me because I thought, well, don't make me read between the lines. Just tell me, what it is that you need. So I'm not one, I'm very action oriented. I'm very focused, and I don't necessarily always do the best job of trying to read people.
Okay.
But in a meeting setting, specifically when I'm interacting with people, I put all distractions away, my phone is away, so that I can be observant and pick up when maybe someone's getting frustrated or anxious or they have something to say.
Okay, thank you for your answer. So the next question, how do you motivate your employees?
I believe that people need to feel that they are working towards a cause bigger than themselves. So there's three components of intrinsic motivation: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And I think it's important for employees to know why their jobs exist. And so I would spend time taking the team through exercises to come up with a why statement for our team and what that means. And then along with that, ensuring that they knew what was expected of them and how they can contribute to that why, and ensuring that they had everything they needed to be successful. So I think really putting words to the team's purpose, the team's why, and giving them all the resources they need to be successful and encouraging them along the way is what I try to do to motivate my team.
Okay, and how do you feel about this perspective of sticks and carrots? That
Yeah. Yeah. So sticks and carrots, there's three types of behavior that I'm aware of. There is dysfunctional behavior, compliance behavior, and discretionary behavior. Sticks and carrots can work when it comes to dysfunctional and compliance behavior. So I can, reward you to do this thing that I ask you to do. And if you're not doing your job, I can discipline you. I can, give you a disciplinary action or a performance improvement plan to get your behavior to where it needs to be. And I think sticks and carrots can be necessary to get employees to that basic compliance. But for discretionary behavior, I don't think you can use carrots for discretionary behavior necessarily. I think it has to be something intrinsic that the employee wants to do, not do it for some sort of tangible reward.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So next question, how do you help your employees to discover their own skills to use them in their organization?
Oh, that's a good question. We would do a lot of assessments, personality assessments to reflect on that. The Clifton Strengths Finder is one that we would always do in our team. So, and we have them on our walls. So I have mine on my wall right now, and it says learner, arranger, individualization. So we know each other's top 5 strengths. And we would play to that. We would say, I can see your woo right now, or, we would call out each other's strengths. We also, something that I heard another leader do that I liked, and so I stole it and adopted it, is complimenting my team on their superpowers. And so I would come up with a superpower for each team member on what they are really good with. So, Mike, and, Mike's superpower is coaching. He's a really good coach. He'll tell you exactly, what you need to do and the steps to get there, and he'll support you along the way. So I think also this idea of superpowers is kind of fun.
So you prefer to focus on the strengths and the superpowers instead of the areas of opportunity, or I don't know if I would like to say like downsides or something like that.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. And there's a lot of people out there that believe that you should only focus on the strengths. And I don't believe that. I think there are things that can get in the way that you have to focus on. You have to develop your weaknesses. And so I really firmly believe that you should have hard conversations the second that one is warranted versus letting things build up. So I've had my fair share experience of having difficult conversations when it comes to performance issues like lack of detail orientation, or learning to speak up in a meeting. So I do think that you have to call those out, but you have to be careful that that can't be the only thing your team hears from you. They also need to hear that you're praising their strengths as well.
Okay, thank you. The other one, how do you know when an employee is satisfied with his job?
I think, we would try to once a week share success stories. We had a brag board. We had like a digital brag board where people could go and highlight things like feedback they got from students and things like that. So that's one area. I'd say the other thing, and it's not, I don't want this to come across as encouraging employees to work around the clock, but typically when I have an employee that's really responsive, even if I email them on a Friday and I'll say, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, can you help me get an answer to this? And they respond quickly. Or sometimes they show up early, and sometimes they stay a little late. I mean, those things I can tell, okay, they actually are interested in what they're doing. They're not just waiting for the clock to strike 5 so they can run out the door.
Okay. And the last one, what are some of the most prevalent ways that people fail as a manager?
I think number one is the biggest one is don't be afraid people are worried about being labeled as a micromanager, and they take that as a way to say, I'm just not going to tell you what to do and let you do it. So employees have to know what you expect of them. So you have to get good at communicating very clear expectations and giving feedback. So if you're not giving your employees, positive feedback at least once a week, If you're not giving them constructive feedback, the second that you're seeing something that needs to be adjusted, you're not setting them up for success. So I think really communicating expectations and holding them accountable to that.
Okay. So I think that was the last question. This is a wrap up. So thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you, Dania. This is great.